Hail, Pandawans and journeymen walking that illustrated path. Welcome to another Sunday with Samwise, Jamboree, and Hootenanny. And today we're drawing some stuff that's normally not something I like to do, drawing other people's creations. But today, for some reason, I got it in my head that I wanted to revisit those old TMNT characters, right? Not the ones from the cartoons. Like, I was a little bit older when the cartoons became popular. I think the movie came out in 89 or 90, and that was, I was 19 or 20 by that time. And I didn't really get into the colorful, happy-go-lucky, pizza-chomping turtles. They were cool. I liked the sort of the grim, stinky, sewer-dwelling ones that were back in the early, mid-'80s, I guess, when they came out. Eastman and Liard. Those two guys that made the turtles. I always liked their stuff. The stories it was a silly concept at first. Turtles, what the hell? But damn cool art, and it was a damn cool story, for at least for the initial run of the black and white comics I got. I loved the way that they did the turtles. They all looked the same. The only thing that was different on them was their weapons. And, the personality of how, the writer would do it, and then the artist would reflect personalities. But it was pretty cool how they did that. Very ingenious. And then what I loved even more is, like I said, I wasn't following it during the color period in the cartoons, but I love that each one had their own color. That's just ingenious. Imagine that. You can make the same toy, the same artwork, and then you just change the color and the weapons, and it's like a whole new thing. Well, when I was sort of learning how to draw these turtle guys, the story for that was I was working at the old AMC Orange Mall movie theater in Orange, I guess. But the movies were coming out, and there was going to be some event, not at the small, tiny, paltry AMC Orange Mall 6 movie theater, but at the big Fullerton 8, the new shining one. Or was it the main place? I think it was the Fullerton one that I went to, but they were doing this thing where before the before the movie, the opening weekend of that movie, they had some of the turtle artists, not the main dudes, but secondary sort of artists. I don't know if they were working on covers or, something, but they were turtle artists. And everyone at the movie theater knew that I always drew stuff, and they're like, hey man, maybe you can sit in with them and do some drawings. It was on like a Saturday, the matinee or Sunday matinee. And I didn't really know about the turtles too much. I saw them in the comic shops. But so I had like a little crash course and sort of studied it, and they were super, super easy to draw. Now, you're going to see me struggle like hell through this one, especially that damn right foot of his right foot, not this right foot. But I remember learning sort of oh man, they're always jumping around. They got different weapons and stuff like that. That's cool. So I kind of did a crash course, and this is what I remember sort of doing when that matinee happened. And I remember we had a pretty good sized line, and all the artists were there lined up, and they're like, so what are you working on? Well, what part of the, project are you working on? I go, well, after this, when I'm done, I got to go drive back to the Orange Mall movie theater, and I got to, the 2 to 10 shift, which is the screw your day, screw your night shift, because you can't do anything during the day. You start too soon, then you can't do anything at night because you end too late. But, so you're not, involved? I'm like, nope, I like to do drawings. And they asked if I wanted to be a part of this, and hell yeah, man, ABC back in the day. So I was working on that with, some of I don't really know who the people are. So forgive me, gentlemen and ladies, if you remember that, and I don't recall though, but a lot of cool people, got to meet them. And it's like the first time I ever met people in the comics industry. I mean, I had tried sending my stuff to Marvel a couple times. It was all Conan related, of course. I was never a superhero in tights kind of dude. I was more of like the dudes hanging out in the loincloth, which is, I guess, why I like Man-O-War. Look at some of their old images. It's ridiculously awesome. But yeah, so normally I don't like to do a lot of fan art. I think the last video I did of other people's stuff was the Christmas ones I did for the Heat Miser and Freeze Miser. Those were fun. And this one's fun too. I I remember some of the techniques I had done back then for making these characters. And, the art style is really rough in the comics, so it was okay if my art style was a little rough. It looked like I was hearkening to the legacy. But yeah, I really thought the designs for these characters were really, really cool. And what's funny is it's a silly idea, and then it actually turned out really cool, like the way that they built up this world and stuff. I guess kind of look at that as with the Pandaren, where it sort of started out as a sort of a April Fool's joke or just a one or two off kind of picture, and it turned into a big thing. I mean, probably not as big as how these guys were, man. These were all over the place, and the movies were huge. But so yeah, so this Sunday before my normal work, I started going, okay, well let's do a little bit of something like this. Could be fun. So let's see. I think I will answer some questions if we have a little time here. Let's see. One of them is a fellow I met at the Hammerfall concerts back in the day, and he asks about who is the bad guy on Crimson Thunder, which is the first album cover that I did. And I guess the answer is I still really don't know. The guys in Hammerfall had asked if they could have Hector, who is their main guy, fighting an enemy, and so we kind of came up with this idea, and I based it off an old concept I had at the time and sort of evolved it into more of the Hammerfall style. But he still is kind of unexplained, and hopefully we'll be able to do something with that character again later in the future. Maybe he comes back. I don't know. Who knows? I haven't done the next album yet. Let's see. A lot of great comments, people growing up with the concepts from the manuals. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Let's see, what other comments do we have? We got one here. Yes, from the previous video, yes. The Last Winter characters were inspired by some of the Viking pandas of Norway, which is like immortal and all that stuff with the corpse paint. Do I take commissions? I'm sorry, I do not. I got a lot of work to do, and plus usually commissions are based on, hey, can you draw my character? Can you draw this? And as previously reported, I usually don't like working on other people's creations that much. It's I guess it's fun. Like I used to draw Conan when I was a kid, but I kind of got out of that. Just it was fun making my own stuff. Even nowadays, in my off time, I don't really want to draw characters from Warcraft or Starcraft because it's kind of considered other people's creations now. Even though I helped out on a lot of it, it's still an IP that's not one of mine. Intellectual property, sorry. Well, you know what? I'll save a video answering questions for maybe a next one, and we can talk a little bit about what I'm doing on this artwork here. So as my process is, I'll usually do a rough sketch, then I'll do a sketch over that to kind of refine it. And then, in Photoshop, it's great. You can lower the opacity of, the transparency of these layers. And you can draw right over that. It's very similar that if you were, draw a picture and then put it on a light table or put it up to a window with sunlight coming through, and you put a new piece of paper over it and trace over it. This is just a lot quicker to do in Photoshop. But I still find myself, when I have a piece, when I'm working on traditional art, I'll do that. But now what I usually will do is I'll just draw really light. If some of you have picked up my How to Draw book, the mythical monsters and magical creatures, or something like that, I can't remember the name of it. I would always say to draw very light, and then you can go over and make them even more, sharp and detailed. So what we're looking at now is I finished the concept, did the draw overs and all that, did some rough shading, and I started doing the coloring on this. But as you'll see, it's very bright, very colorful. I've always had that sort of color style for my pictures, very bright and bold, but it just isn't fitting for me. Like I end up going back to just getting rid of the color layers and going back to the original black and white, because that's how I really remember the Turtles from when I was, interested in them. Is just the black and white concepts. It had more of a visceral feel. It had a little bit more legitimacy than the brightly colored cartoony stuff. And this is like screaming neon green. Look at that. Hulk goes, wow, that's pretty damn green. But I ended up just going back to the black and whites in this one. It felt cooler. It felt more of like if I'm going to do an homage of the Turtle franchise that I love, I'm just going to go back to the sort of the black and white roots of it. It just feels more seriously. And, one of the reasons I never got into the Turtles until like later on was when these were out black and white and popular. So was it the greatest comic, in my opinion, ever, The Savage Sword of Conan. And that was all just done with inks. John Buscema, Ernie Chan, Alfredo Alcala, Rudy Nebres, all these great, great comic artists that just lavished over these black and white illustrations so much where it felt. Do yourself a favor if you're not familiar with any of the Savage Sword of Conan. They're all in collected volumes now too. Go out and check those out. Even just Google the images and you'll see like the level of artistry that these artists had was just phenomenal. And that it was done all traditional is nowadays in this digital world just incredible. Even to someone like me who's still, tries to draw in black and white and pencil and paper and crayon and all that Sharpie. But that's it. A little bit of a fan tribute to the Turtles. Thanks for a great creation, guys. I hope that this homage lived up to it. And let's just get rid of that color layer now. We'll go back to black and white. All right, everybody. Happy Sunday and ABC. Always be creating. Hail.